Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining Archangel Alts. Here we are for Market Watch, and it is about 10:40 on March 9th. Can't believe it's already March 9th, 2019. I wanted to say February 9th, and it isn't. Go back, we're doing really well. So lots of things coming into play here, and I'm just going to run through where things are and let you know kind of what has shifted around a little bit. But just really kind of amazing stuff going on. The market has been waking up a bit, and it's definitely it's not just natural movement. I do not think that this is just some of the good news things that are out there. I think that people have been getting antsy and they're getting ready for things to kick up. I think those that will have a little bit to do with putting their coins back in the game, and the movers and shakers and whales are a little bit to do with what's going on. So as with anything else, be careful. Watch those high positions, and remember that one of the things that is very similar to things in nature with the trading process, other than waveforms, sine waves and human behavior responding to the things that have a natural movement to them. These things tend to have gravity, meaning that it's a lot easier for it to go down than it is for it to come back up. And some of that is math, and some of that is just human instinct, what we feel and perceive in the short term, and what that does to our perception of things in the longer term. So looking at the amount of stuff that's been going on in the market, I'm trying really hard to get caught up on admin stuff, so it's not always lingering over my head while the market is doing amazing things. But that's what's been going on. So I'm waiting for the next more extended live trading until I kind of feel like I've gotten to a point where I've made some real progress. Videos are going pretty well. Got playlists updated a little bit, so all of that stuff is a little bit easier organized. You can go back through. I'm so excited to see Steam doing what it's doing, and there's some other stuff going on. So let's go ahead and look at this stuff. The other thing, response to nature, gravity. It's a lot easier for it to go down than for it to come back up. And we got this kind of ebb and flow that happens with the volume back and forth between Bitcoin and all the others. It doesn't matter how big, Ethereum even included. And right now, BNB and Tron, well, Tron's not doing so well. Neither is BTT. I'm okay with that right now. Wow, Steam just keeps on going. Fantastic. And the other thing being like the tide, you have an undertow that can kind of pull you out if you're not careful. And that's something that I think of that, I'm not like Mr. Hippie market guy, but it does seem like there's so many things that relate to just natural moves of the force of nature that make me immediately think of those things. We tend to have a very short-term memory. When exciting things like this happen, it becomes easier and easier and easier as we get pulled further out by the undertow, that we don't realize that we're like way over here. And even in a very short period of time, just a couple of hours, when you zoom in there, and that just looks natural, and you're just watching, minute by minute, watching this, and it's like, oh, well, it's over here. This isn't all that crazy. This isn't all that crazy. And let's just pretend that, this was, it came down here and that's all it's doing. That's as high as it's going to go. It's not very far from down here, and this is where that little chunk began. It's done a spread between 500 and 531 in the past 24 hours. And, you can see, let's say that it just kept going down from there. There is room for it to continue upwards. Is very possible, especially since so many different people are looking for that to happen. So they might, say, well, hey, I'm in, the volume is still very low, but, it's very easy just, because you're following those positions hour after hour, day after day. It's very easy to forget that, 500 is very high compared to the 412 it was, just a couple of weeks ago. And it was down there, from the 26th to the 3rd. So, it's not like it was just, a half a day or anything. And, yes, it did go down there and then peak back up. But you understand what I'm saying. Just try to force yourself to have a bigger picture perspective. Even though we are day trading, we're looking to get in and out of positions very quickly, but we don't want to get stuck in things. Even if things are looking optimistic, there's a chance that it takes another dive before doing this. There were a couple of times here, and here where everybody was saying, oh, things are turning around again. Awesome. And I mean, they did for a half a second and then they went back down. And same thing. And I mean, when it goes lower and lower and lower, the news and people's feelings about things and their perception of things is that, oh my gosh, it's losing everything. Crypto is dead. It's dying. It's dead. It's dying. Well, I mean, this doesn't happen to something that's dying. So, you can see that it literally came right back up to where it was towards the end of the year, towards the end of the first of the year. Over here, 611. Over here, it made it just around almost to 6. So let's take a look. Is it? Okay, yeah. I was about to say, I think that it's probably going to sign me out when I go to switch, because I am working on the laptop right now. So here we are at Bitcoin, and it is actually holding a fairly consistent 3,900. If it's here for another 3 or 4 days, then I might think that it can actually handle 3,900 regularly. 3,950, I'm not sure that's ready for that regularly. It seems to me that it needs to hold at a higher volume in order to hold at its current higher value. People are not just buying in and letting it sit there. There's a heavy amount of, you can see that there's this steady, and then it falls really hard, and it falls really hard, and it falls, there's echoes of that, and then it starts the process again. So I'm not certain, every time there's one of these types of things going on, you and I don't have, millions and millions and millions of dollars to pump it immediately back up to that. So, yes, this is manipulation, but it's kind of okay. And if that's what people feel like doing with their money, then, hey, you just have to recognize the problem so you don't get stuck in the middle of stuff. So I do think that it's possible for it to maintain that 38.50 average. If it stays above that, then that's the way. I always want to be wrong. I always want to be, underestimating something slightly and then pleasantly surprised if it outperforms that. KNC is currently sitting at the highest point. The last thing we were looking at, ENJ, was just like way up there, and was kind of warning our people, don't forget about how high that is, and not to get stuck up here on the cliff. We're going to go over our next cryptocurrency spotlight, and it is going to be the most obvious one to be, which is ENJ, because people are really freaking out about the reason that it's going up so much. I'm going to wait to tell you until the cryptocurrency spotlight on ENJ. Engine token, I believe. Isn't pretty much everything a token for the most part? For the most part, yes. Yeah, very cool. And even as it is playing out, I'm going in blind here, but I'm looking at the 1 hour, and we couldn't have a more perfect example of the principle of thirds, where we had pattern, boom, 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 and then the change. And you can see that, these three look very comfortable with each other, and this one looks like the start of something new. It really could be continuing up for a second up pattern. It's very possible. And in which that case, I'm only looking for positions that might get us like from around 56 to 56.50. So you can see it's not a big room, not a big range for it to need to do. It is starting to get, what I always point out is that it starts to get that kind of sag when it's in that rainbow shape or a slope. It's starting to arch there instead of spike. When we have this sharp movement that's a really strong up, and the sell-off is really strong. I mean, it came almost all the way down to where it started. So this is actually still a positive trend in here. 54.60 to about 55.17, 55.60. So yeah, I would keep an eye on it. Remember that, it's not just 5,300 that it could come down to. It could come all the way down, a whole 1,000 points, even more than 1,000 points. Okay. So, yes, being extremely optimistic is a good thing, But, this is the truth. You want to be honest with yourself about what the positions could do. Right up until March the 7th, this was worth about 2,600. So, and that was actually an improvement from where it had come before. So, that is not the normal trend that's going on. It's worth 5 times more, 500%, 500%, 5,000, 500% more than what it was worth 224. I mean, that's amazing. Just add another week and it's gone up 5x. So there are obviously some people that, we're going up. We're going to do this thing. Okay, that's a little bit of a sign there. Okay, something's going on. Something's happening with this thing. So if it is because of the news that we're going to talk about in the cryptocurrency spotlight, then yes, it is possible that this might have another up. But it sure looks like a repeat of the pattern, I would say. This was for people in the know. And then, you had this kind of steady optimism through here. Very, very, very exciting stuff. I'm really happy to see that happening. So make sure and check out the cryptocurrency spotlight. That'll probably be up just before midnight. I'm going to do a really good coverage for everybody for free. And then I am going to do a little bit more extensive one for our paid members. I like to, even in the times where I'm very busy, we're still in our soft launch, phase. I want to be always offering, an extra value for people as we're getting through all this stuff. And of course, I'm always there to answer questions when there are them. It was like Theta is coming up. So I think that's really good news for our friend Ezio in the group. I believe that he was still waiting on, and I cannot remember if we still have a 1333 to sell at Steam. I'm going to have to check all of our positions and see how we are doing. I will post all that information in the group, in our private group, and I will also, kind of post exciting updates to Twitter, because I'm getting, I'm enjoying getting to know people there. I'm not a massive social media fan. I much prefer like a forum-based thing where you can carry on actual conversations, but I know that's not the way most people work these days, so it's more, you're trying to read something on the side of a bus as it goes driving by. That's kind of how multimedia feels to me. I prefer more of a real ongoing conversation. Okay, so this is a really good time for just kind of looking through the green. Even those that are in the 1, 2, and 3, and 4% are kind of a big deal, because you got to think that there's been a lot of up. So after 24 hours of doing some really big stuff, usually things will taper off and it'll start to be negative, and the negative isn't really all that negative. So like you see something like Raven being down 70%. I mean, it's still, this ain't so bad compared to this that it did. And do you see the common trend? How similar to, let me see if I can get there quick enough to make this sentence relevant. We're going back to E and J, and I don't know if I can do it without going back to alphabetical. Elf? There's an elf in here. Yeah, it's not that happy. Okay, it's not that high up the list. It's not that happy. You're not happy, ENJ? That's not true. It's very happy. ENJ's having a really good day. So, look at this. And now, look at this. So, I mean, obviously not exactly the same thing, but we got this, we got this, we got this. And so I'm just saying, yes, a lot of it might be because of the news that we're going to go over in the cryptocurrency spotlight. That was kind of fun. But it may just be what's going on in the market, the people that are looking to, pump stuff, get things stirring, get people asking the right questions, those questions being, is this the beginning of a bull run? And then going and looking for the news for the reasons that things are happening. Well, a little bit. Some of it is because of that. So these are the times where, we tend to choose a lot of the same coins, and there's a reason for that. I choose things that tend to find the right kind of stability in the marketplace as things are going on. So one of the important things for us to look at right now is ENJ, and I probably didn't mention it when we were looking at BTC, but it is currently at 120,500,000 24-hour volume in dollars on Binance in Tether. And that is not what I would consider healthy, but in comparison it is. And, by healthy, I mean, you really need to watch to see whether it is actually still building volume. Every couple of minutes, is it still going up a little bit? Is it maintaining, or is it starting to come down? Because when it gets around a $20 million or so change in either direction, you need to make sure that you know what you're going to be doing with your positions, because something's going to give, something's going to change. It doesn't mean that it's something bad, but it definitely means something. So, eyes wide open on that. Okay. So yeah, Raven being down here, not a big deal at all. In fact, fantastic, wonderful compared to the 200 something that it was sitting down. The idea of something tripling in that time, unheard of in the recent market. So, we're looking here, we're not even looking at a month's time. Isn't that fantastic? That is fantastic. BNB down a little bit, but that's okay. It's exactly the same pattern we're seeing with other stuff. RCN I was watching for a while. I thought that this was interesting. Really good range happening in here. If you're a swing trader, if you like things going a little bit slower, this tends to happen, on a almost daily basis. So it's a really good thing to keep your eyes on. Just once again, I think that the trend is very likely to either even out or start coming back down. So these things don't, just keep going up forever. Hey, we could have 7 months of it going up just like we had many months of it going down. That would be great. So this came up from 6,300, and then, recently it went to 65, but 66. Well, okay. Lower than expected, let's say, and I've been expecting it to do 7,400 and then 7,300. It made it up a little bit above 72. So not quite as strong as the upward movement I'd like to see. And the thing is that it does have the volume to support that notion. So it's interesting. It could do a little better. Litecoin, I'm sure people expect me to talk about it. Do you really see anything different from here? So I've seen some people reporting on how Litecoin is, starting to get its own movement and not, can it decouple from Bitcoin, et cetera, et cetera. I don't see it. Do you see something different on the screen from what I've been showing with the others? I think that's how the market is reacting, and people are pumping it appropriately. This is not like normal pump and dump groups. This is, the really big guys. I don't know whether it's somebody on behalf of institutional trading or whether it's individual whales, or it literally could be people that are not connected, but they've had hundreds of Bitcoins. You could do that with some of these alts fairly easy with just, hundreds of thousands instead of tens of millions. I like Litecoin. I just don't ever see, anything that's like, oh my gosh, the most amazing thing just happened with Litecoin. But it's still doing well. Okay, good to know. Ethereum Classic, not following the trend. Sorry to see that guy. Waves, I really like Waves. It's been a little bit tricky to follow. So, I still think that 7,300 is going to be in the near future if you're looking for larger percents. I still, I'm always going to be looking for the safest small temporary positions. And then if something does go into more than a day, then I put it in that category of, anything under 2 weeks. I'll be eventually I'll be happy with it. But, if it goes beyond that, then I would consider it a HODL. So here is Ethereum. And you can see kind of similar to Ethereum Classic. It's not exactly following the same trend as some of the others. It has, it has been doing some good stuff, but yeah. XRP, very much the same. So, if you guys want to decouple, you probably want to go in the other direction, right? Yeah, that's okay. PIVX, a little bit of its own thing going on there. IOTX, some of the same rise that we see. It's coming down a little bit harder, a little bit quicker than some of the others, so be careful. IUSD, buddy. It has treated us well. Boy, it was frustrating when it was 197 to 199. It was difficult again when we needed it at 207, 208. It was really cool. I finally I was waiting it out. I was like, man, I got to eat something. It made it up like just barely, and then it didn't have the volume to clear it. Went through all this all over again. You got to think that, this from here to here was a day and a half. So right in here is where I finally took a food break and I just let it run. And I came back and I saw that, it had done its spike and everything. I actually knew because, of course, I was watching it while I was eating too. But yep, very fun, very cool stuff. INS is, it looks like it's already kind of done its up, and it may be, it looks like it'll probably stay in this range for a while. Waves is on its way up again. Good for you, Waves. Man, we got to get through this stuff so I can get back to trading, eh? Yeah, lots and lots of stuff. Okay, so you can see RVN is on its way up. It was kind of nice to see it peak up here. We've got some REN and REQ that we're looking to clear in some of the higher positions. I think 600s and 800s. We have some. Some of our stuff goes back pretty far. So just be careful in this range. Everything is a little bit overly optimistic for the market to support it. So right now it's kind of becoming something that used to be similar, used to be familiar. So when you see these 1000 BTC, 2000 BTC, I'm not an example of that right now. When you start to see, 1000 BTC 24-hour volume on some of this stuff that's usually been sitting in the 100, 200, 300 range, be very careful, but it's exciting to see that. And even though normally that would be higher, it would be pretty high, 1,000, 2,000 Bitcoin 24-hour volume for what we've seen for months and months. The truth of the matter is that some of them are so locked into Bitcoin that they, even the 3,000 BTC, sometimes they're still kind of sitting there. So just make sure that you're watching the trends, because that's your undertow. That's, what could very easily quickly pull things down. Not just the actual value of Bitcoin, but whether its volume is going down and whether your coin's volume is going down. If Bitcoin's volume is going down while yours is going up a lot, it's increasing, and it's increasing because people are buying in, not just selling off. Really, really, really good. Did I say really good? Yes, very much so. DLT is headed up. Okay, now we're getting into the, more kind of rapid accelerators. And this is funny because, Nano tends to always seem to find a safe, fairly healthy place around 2300. No matter how much it's gone down and how much it comes up, 2300 seems to be that trigger to say, hey, I'm here and I'm doing okay. GTO, interesting. ADX, interesting. BAT, yeah, you can see there's quite, I'm sorry, in PXS. It really threw me off. I was like, 300 Bitcoin on BAT? Okay, you pulled a switch on me. So it's actually still going up. Really cool. And you can see boom, boom, boom for the principal thirds as well. And then there's, it looks like the next one is an even harder up. So that's pretty cool. REQ is still doing well. That's really impressive. Very cool. It's going to be fun to go through and look at where our positions are. So I'll do a tried and true. Once I have gotten through a certain amount of the website stuff, I'm going to do a tried and true update. I'll be always updating in the group. Ion, keep an eye on Ion. Don't remember if it had to cross 330 or 430. Don't have those positions in front of me right now as far as our own. VET, I really like VET, but it does not have that, special combination normally that we're looking for. The issue is that it really needs to be at about 2,500 Bitcoin 24-hour volume for it to be able to push through these positions better. When it piles up on more than 3 or 4 Bitcoin, even if it's at 500 BTC, it's just not enough to make very safe movements. So you can see usually what happens in these valleys that it trades. Like right now it's 113 to 126. That's really wide for it. Very often it'll be stuck in binary, for days at a time, 106, 107, 106, 107, 106, 107. And when it does that, it needs to move a third position to actually clear something in between. It would have to go from 106 to 107 to 108 before you know for sure that you cleared 106 to 107. Because there's so much for it to resolve there, it gets stuck. TNB, we've been kind of watching this one. Similar, but not the same. If it was up to about 700-800 Bitcoin 24-hour volume, then it would be able to really handle these well. But even so, I'm really excited and impressed with what it's been able to do. Okay, Bitcoin just started speeding up on a little bit of a rampage, but it's still dropping in volume. It looks like it's selling off quicker, but it's really just coming back down to 39.16, so it isn't enough for me to switch over there. Solid straight up on ICX. That's a really big deal. That happened from just basically the past 2 days. Bancor token, the Bancor protocol, very big deal. Very rare for it to be up at all. And if you look at how high the others have been climbing, remember, when you start to see this arching happen, this is not as strong an up as some of the others. So this is going to start coming down quicker, most likely, unless something, unforeseen, massive happens in the market. Just be a little careful there. Kind of healthy looking patterns, healthy movement on singles. What I like about it is a little bit more predictable. So even if you have something on its way down, if you watch it long enough, you start getting into the rhythm of how the coin moves. You get into its personality, and you can trade on that. CDT getting a little bit tricky to get in on positions, but that's a pretty big spread for 24 hours. That's just because of this right here. So nice. Just be careful. Steam, really like this project. I hope that they're cool people. If they are, then their community really loves what they're doing. I would expect this to be able to gain in value unless something unpredictably bad happens. Okay, it was starting to look like this was going to peak out around 300, and I know we've got some positions in fuel we're looking to clear just above this, so that's really exciting to see that happening. Even more so, I'm excited to see, the only thing that is actually better than seeing like a solid spike up and down is when you see the opposite of that rainbow. You know how I talk about this shape means that it's weakening and it's weakening quicker. So we saw that come down, and it wasn't really strong there. But now we start to see a reversal, and isn't it interesting? Boom, 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 and then the change. Okay, I mean, when we go into more advanced stuff and we start going, breaking the real advanced stuff on the principle of thirds, it's everywhere, from the positions that you choose to what you're watching for before going in, the predictive measures to where, you don't want to intentionally pass up extra profit, but how to stay on the safe side and not get stuck being overly optimistic. All those things are in the principle of thirds. So boom, 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 and we're going to see a change somewhere around here. That doesn't mean that it won't continue going straight up. That'll be awesome. It looks to me like it's just because the optimism. People are kind of getting excited and saying, maybe it's worth getting our hopes up a little bit more. So KNC is coming down hard now, and it's actually, it weakened a little bit here. A little bit faster than Bitcoin, but I think this is really just it trailing what Bitcoin is doing. But look at that, 12,700 volume. I mean, that's really, really big deal. Nulls. We have some nulls. I'll have to look again at what the value is on that. I think it's pretty darn old though, so I'll have to look at that. But oh my goodness, look at that. So that, some things started around here. Nulls started around here. These things don't just happen because, I woke up one day, I read one good article about nulls, and I think I'm going to put $700,000 in it. So these, are definitely organized, whether it's a group or a person. It's just, it's not happening, independent of anything else. So the first sign that this was happening, this was just today, and it's really now just kicking up. There's a very good chance that if you're holding any theta that it'll clear today. So very exciting, very optimistic, and my only issue is I want to get through some of the stuff that will be lingering, and I'll have it in the back of my mind and lose a little bit of my focus if I don't get it done. But I'm getting closer, so I can't wait to jump back in on the live trading because this is where it's at, man. This is awesome, and I would much rather know that things are starting to come down from somewhere and find some safe positions. In here, everybody will tell you don't trade on the way down. Yeah, I can definitely understand why. But the only times that we really have just smacked ourselves on the head saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe I fell for that, is being overly optimistic on the way up. So yeah, and being extremely cautious on the way down, looking for that 0.5% and being happy if it's more, seems to be working. We're starting to get closer, so hopefully that's what we will be working on together as we get deeper into the live trading once again. So thank you for watching. Very optimistic. Keep your eyes peeled on the 24-hour change. This is one of those times where it is definitely helpful to just see what is changing, and that top 10 can shift around pretty darn quickly. So just keep your eyes peeled whenever you're watching one of your coins. Let's say this is one of your coins. If you can't do it mentally, just make a little chart for yourself to keep up with what the 24-hour volume is, so that you can remember, as the horses are are in their lanes and one is going faster than another, you can remember which ones are speeding up and which ones are slowing down. And if you are having trouble doing that, you can always look at your reference on the volume here. But we're going to go over those indicators very soon in the basics. So if anybody is kind of hesitant to get into the trading, but they find this stuff interesting, I want to make sure and get through all the basics for you of how to look at the indicators, what they mean, how to use the charts, the doji candles and measurements and all that kind of fun stuff. And then we'll get into intermediate and some advanced ninja level stuff for the paid group. So God bless you guys. Thank you for watching. Next is coming the cryptocurrency spotlight on Engine, ENJ. It deserves it. It's going to continue to have people that are curious what it's going to do. My advice, somewhere right around here to our friends in our group, is to be careful, because I've seen this many, many times. Suddenly there's going to be a shift in that volume, and sure enough, boom, 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 starting to sell off a bit. So I don't think that it's just going to go straight to 700 and 7,000 and then 8,000 and 9,000 and on and on and on. I think that people get nervous. These things come in trends, and it's just as possible that the news will have a little bit of a lull before it comes back around. So just be very, very careful. Optimistic, but careful. And keep your eyes peeled for that cryptocurrency spotlight coming at you next. And for now, Archangel Alts out.